All right, Liam O'Loughlin from Sporting News Australia here. We're here with Grayson Waller from WWE NXT 2.0 and 205 Live. Mate, it's been a big year for you, going from signing with WWE, now being featured on the new look NXT as well as 205 Live. How's that rise and all the changes been for you?
It's crazy. It's very, very surreal that I've gone in 6 months from basically being in Australia on a certain level to being here and now being featured in such huge ways, wrestling for the Cruiserweight Championship recently. I couldn't have scripted it better myself. If I put down the list of goals I had for my first 6 months, I've definitely surpassed what I originally thought I kind of would have done.
You touched just then on that big match you had against Roderick Strong. Sorry. How was that experience for you and being able to step into the ring with one of the pillars of the brand for really the last 3 or 4 years?
It sucked. And this is the reason why. That dude hits hard. Like, Roderick Strong is a different level of human being. He's an absolute beast. And getting in there with him, like, all of a sudden you realize, like, man, when you get in there with the top dogs, like, it is not fun. Obviously, afterwards, the experience of being in there and having the crowd behind me and wrestling on TV was great. But at the time, I was kind of just fighting for my life, trying to survive, making sure he didn't beat me up too much. Afterwards, I'm really proud of the performance I put on. He's a guy I've looked up to for a long time, and I think I showed everyone that I'm on his level now, and I'm on the level where I should be performing for championships and performing on live TV every week. But at the time, there was moments there where I was like, this is rough.
You spoke about how quickly things have changed for you in the last 6 months or so. How's life been in the WWE system, and what have you found the easiest and perhaps the most difficult?
It's a really cool experience here. The PC is fantastic. Being from Australia where I had to have a full-time job and wrestle, and that was always tough. Now I have 100% focus on the wrestling, and the PC system here is fantastic. We have, personal trainers who run gym sessions with us to help us with that aspect of wrestling. We have literally the best wrestling minds in the world teaching us every day. William Regal, Fit Finley, all these guys who have so much experience teaching us. We get to watch old wrestling tapes with them too, and they're giving us advice. It's just very, very surreal and very, very cool. And just getting to live wrestling 100% with my life has been great. That aspect's been really easy. The hard part, I guess, has been being so far away from home, and with the way things are, having that disconnection where, the time zones are crazy. Everyone's stuck at home. I can't go back home. I know I'm here. That's been a little bit tough, but luckily there's a few Australians here who we're pretty close to now, and we kind of hang out together and stay tight. So we have a little Aussie family, but overall the experience has been unbelievable.
You mentioned just then Fit Finley, William Regal. The one name that everyone always wants to know about is Shawn Michaels. Have you had much to do with him since arriving at the PC?
So I tell the story that the first person I kind of met at the PC was Shawn. We were filling out some paperwork and he just walked in and said hello and walked out. And it was just like, that's been my hero for so long, and he's just there. But luckily recently, now that I've been doing a little bit of stuff on NXT, Shawn's pulled me aside a few times, given me some advice, given me some pointers and things like that. And his advice is just so valuable because I don't think there's very few people in the business who've done as much as he has. So his advice is gold. And he might only give you one thing. He might say one sentence to you, but that's something that you'll think about all week. So just having anything to do with Shawn Michaels has been incredible.
You obviously worked under the name Matty Wahlberg back in Australia on the independents here. Talk us through the name change. It's always a fascinating process when you get to WWE and how you landed on Grayson Waller.
Yeah, I always love being online, and a lot of people will like say, oh, this name sucks, not knowing that we actually have a heap to do with the names. They give us the opportunity to kind of put forward what we think kind of works. And a lot of times we've made the decision with the name. So Grayson Waller was something that I chose and that I connected with. I think I give off self-admittedly a bit of a douchebag jock vibe, and I don't think there's a better name than Grayson to kind of give off that vibe. And Waller is just like, I loved Matty Wahlberg and what I kind of built as that, and Waller was my kind of hint to that. It's kind of similar, it kind of has the same type of theme, and it's just my little own adage to my past.
And fans from back here in Australia, they'd probably recognise you from your work on the independents, but obviously from being on Survivor as well. Do you think that helped you in your wrestling career?
I think it really helped me. And I made the decision to kind of start looking for the opportunity to go on Survivor because I thought it would be a great connection for my wrestling career. I'm a huge Survivor fan, so it was a life goal too. But also I knew it would just present me in a different way and get a lot more eyes on me than I could just from independently wrestling in Australia. So I think being on there, showing what I can do, being comfortable in front of the cameras opened a lot of eyes and kind of gave me a new audience that I didn't have previously. And just the confidence and everything coming from that kind of set me up for eventually getting here.
And obviously, it's my understanding that you were lucky enough when you were here in Australia to be trained by Robbie Eagles, who's now doing great things in Japan. Do you still keep in contact with him?
Yeah, he was actually here the last 2 weeks. He was over here wrestling for New Japan Strong, and he actually came in early to come and stay in Orlando and hang out with us. So getting to see Robbie again, he was my day one coach. He was the first person that I walked into a wrestling training center. And from then, he's basically been my number one mentor. He's the reason that I'm here, and he's the reason that when I get to wrestle Roderick Strong, I show that I belong on his level. And I genuinely feel that if it wasn't for Robbie Eagles, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in. So having him here in Orlando the last few weeks was really cool. It was kind of like a little dose of home, and we kind of had a laugh thinking about how, he's the New Japan junior heavyweight champion and I was wrestling for the cruiserweight championship. And we were like, imagine if we had the two most prestigious junior heavyweight belts in the world. And unfortunately, I couldn't make that happen, but just the opportunity to be there was very crazy for us to think about from where we've come from.
You speak about him as an Aussie doing really well, but we've seen such a huge influx of Aussie talent into WWE in the past few years. Is there anyone back home that you wrestled on the independents here that you think could make that jump?
I say this all the time to them at home, especially I know it's been tough the last few months with all the lockdowns and stuff. People haven't been able to train and perform, but the level of talent in Australia is as high, if not higher than what is here and what is big in the business right now. The Australian talent is just waiting to be tapped. And once someone does, it's going to be crazy. A few names that I think of straight off the top of my head. Mick Moretti's a guy who I got to wrestle fairly recently, and he's just so good and just needs someone to see him do it. The Velocities in PWA as well. Kingsley and Jessica Troy, some of the girls that are down there in Sydney, are just world class and so fantastic. They're such strong characters and wrestling wise, they're world class. And I really hope that people get to see them. From Melbourne too, Adam Brooks is a guy who I can't believe hasn't been able to show on a world stage what he can do. And I know he had opportunities in Ring of Honor, but unfortunately with COVID and everything, it kind of got messed up. But I think once Brooksy gets a chance to show on a world stage what he can do, the ceiling isn't high enough. He'll absolutely kill it.
A lot's been made about the changes to NXT lately. That there's a new look, the new colors, the new arena setup. It looks fantastic, in my opinion. What have you made of the changes?
I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. The vibe is completely different. And you can even see with the audience, it's more fun. The audience is having fun now. And I know a lot has been said about the colors and things, but I think that's the type of vibe that it's showing. And it's giving an opportunity for people to show what they can do much earlier than they could before. In the last few weeks, you see Bron Breakker, who's an absolute monster of a human being, already is going to be challenging Tommaso Ciampa for the title, and I think he deserves that. The Creed brothers, Tony D'Angelo, Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes, there's so many new names that traditionally wouldn't have an opportunity to get on television so early, but because of the new NXT and its influx of new talent, they're showing how fantastic they are. And I think seeing who they are personality-wise has also been really, really cool. Obviously they are great in the ring, but getting to see who they are outside the ring and their personality. And I think NXT 2.0 is really focusing on people's personalities and letting that shine. I'm loving it. I love sitting there, backstage every week, getting to watch everyone show what they can do.
You speak about that character sort of thing. Is that something that you feel you've had to work on a lot since getting to WWE, or you feel you already had that down pat before?
I think the beautiful thing with my character is it's not a character. Like, if anyone who knows me knows that the personality I show, the kind of swag I have, that's just who I am. So I think one of the reasons that I got to kind of show what I can do so early is because I'm just me. When I go out in front of that camera, that's me. That's who I am. I'm the same backstage as I am out there. So I wouldn't say I've had to work on it, because this is just who I am. I love performing. I love going out in front of the crowd. I love showing what I can do. I love talking trash. I love saying mean things. And that's perfect for NXT 2.0.
With all the changes that have happened and a lot of the new faces we've seen, quite a few NXT superstars be released. Does that kind of send a message to anyone in the locker room? You feel like you got to keep your head on the swivel a little bit?
Of course, like when those things happen, it's a natural thing to kind of stress and that type of thing. But I think it's also showing that if you have an opportunity to show what you can do it. I know that can be scary at times, but this is the biggest wrestling company in the world. It's such an opportunity, and anytime you're on TV, they're investing money in you, basically. So obviously it is stressful, but also it just means it's time to show out. It's time to put it all on the line every single time. There's no point sitting back and just giving a mediocre performance. Every single time you're on camera, you got to show that one day you can main event WrestleMania. And I'm someone that has that as a goal, and I'm someone that every time I go out, I try and show that. So I think there are positives in the negatives, I guess you could say.
Yeah, you touched on that, and they're obviously wanting to build towards the future now with the way that NXT has been set up and in the last few weeks. Have you received any feedback or advice from the higher ups like William Regal? I know Triple H is out of action at the moment, but some of those higher ups in NXT about how you can work towards being that WrestleMania main event caliber superstar.
Yeah, definitely, and I think a lot of it is there's a certain WWE style, and that's something that you have to learn, and getting to talk to them and show, basically putting together what I have to offer and what they want is something that we're kind of communicating about. The hair itself was something that they suggested and I ran with. There's a bloke named Dexter Loomis who looks a hell of a lot like me, especially haircut wise. So just being able to stand out as my own person, like I'm Grayson Waller, that's who I am, and I'm not a knockoff of somebody else. So just little things like the hair, the way you present yourself, the way you talk, all those little things, you're getting constant feedback and constant praise as well. When you do good things, they tell you, and when you do bad things, it's not like you get admonished and told you suck. You get told, hey, maybe try it this way. So it's a really positive learning environment. Everyone's kind of working together to make the product as good as it can be.
You touched on a guy like Bron Breakker, only really been on TV for a few weeks now, already getting a world title shot. What are your short-term and perhaps long-term goals within NXT and WWE?
I'll just tell you real quick. Bron Breakker is like another breed of human. Like, I don't even know if he's real. I've been in the gym with him a few times, and it's insane. Just watching him bench press like over 200 kilos, like it's nothing. He's just an insane man. And, maybe one day I'll get in the ring with him, but goal-wise, at the moment, I just want to establish myself as one of the best in NXT. I had my opportunity against Roddy. I think I showed what I can do, and I want to keep doing that against the best they have. And if that's someone like Tommaso Ciampa or Johnny Gargano, who've been around a while, or someone like Bron Breakker, who's new, but he's pretty damn good. I just want to show that I'm as good as it gets, and Australians are as good as it gets. I kind of want to use me as showing how good the Australians back in Australia are. I want people to go, wow, there must be some hidden gems in Australia. And then they go look and find out, damn, like Australian wrestling is world class.
Just a final question for me. You obviously mentioned Roddy, Tommaso, Johnny Gargano. Is there anyone, even in Raw or SmackDown that you'd like to face in the future, or even anyone else in NXT?
So Johnny Gargano is the first that comes to mind, because I've been a huge fan of Johnny for a long time. And he's basically the measuring stick when it comes to NXT. He's done everything it takes, and he's the locker room leader. He's the guy in NXT, and I would love to jump in there with him. But on the main roster, there's just so many guys. AJ Styles, Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, just so many incredibly talented guys that I want to test myself against, and that I want to get in there and punch them in the face, basically. There's so many that I can't name them, but they're probably the main ones.
All right. Well, Grayson Waller, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck in the coming months on NXT, and hopefully we see you with some gold around your waist soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Liam.
No worries, mate.